Why is it that sometimes when someone is kind, gentle, consistent, when they genuinely want to know you, to be close to you, to build something real with you, you don't feel safe? Instead, something shifts inside you, a quiet hesitation, a subtle resistance you can't quite explain. Why is it that the people who are actually reliable, who don't play games, who don't disappear, who don't make you anxious, end up feeling not exciting enough, while the ones who are distant, unpredictable, even hurtful, are the ones you can't seem to let go of? And why is it that just when a relationship starts to feel stable, comfortable, even safe, you begin to question it? You notice flaws, you feel trapped, you tell yourself something is off, and slowly you start pulling away until something that could have worked falls apart. If this feels familiar, then this isn't a video about choosing the wrong person, and it's not about how to find a better partner. What we're looking at today is something much more subtle and much harder to admit. Maybe you never rejected love. Maybe when real love finally appears, your system simply doesn't know how to stay in it. You may have noticed this pattern before. It's not that you've never met someone kind, someone who checks in on you, who remembers the little things, who shows up consistently, quietly, without drama. Maybe it's a co-worker who texts to ask if you got home safe, or brings you something when you're not feeling well. Everything about them feels stable, comfortable, easy, and yet something feels missing. You tell yourself, I don't feel it. There's no spark, so slowly you start to pull away. But at the same time, you find yourself drawn to someone completely different, someone inconsistent, hard to read, sometimes present, sometimes gone. They might disappear for days, then suddenly send a message late at night, just enough to pull you back in. You know this dynamic makes you anxious. You check your phone too often, you lose sleep over it, and still, you stay. Or maybe it's someone from your past, someone who kept you guessing. Every time you decided to leave, they came back, just enough to keep you attached. You told yourself you were done, you meant it, but the moment they returned, you softened again. Psychology has a word for this: familiarity. We are not always drawn to what is better. We are drawn to what feels familiar. If your early experiences of connection included inconsistency, distance, or emotional unpredictability, your nervous system learns to treat that as normal. So when someone stable enters your life, someone who responds, who stays, who doesn't make you guess, it can feel off, too calm, too easy, almost unreal. While the kind of connection that makes you anxious, that keeps you waiting and wondering, feels strangely natural, you're not chasing pain. You're returning to an emotional environment your system already understands. That isn't love, it's familiarity. If the first step is being drawn to what feels familiar, the second step is much quieter. You begin to struggle with what is actually safe. Imagine a simple moment. You've been seeing someone for a while now. They don't disappear. They don't confuse you. When they say they'll be there, they show up. One evening, you're walking home together, and without hesitation they say, I really like being with you. No pressure, no performance, just something honest. You smile, you nod. But inside, something shifts, not warmth, not excitement. A subtle tension, a quiet urge to step back, and almost instantly a thought appears. Maybe I don't like them that much. Maybe this is moving too fast. Maybe something feels off. It sounds reasonable, but psychologically, something else is happening. This is not about preference, it's about your nervous system. If you're used to inconsistency, to distance, to emotional uncertainty, your body begins to associate that tension with connection. over time, anxiety starts to feel like attraction, and calmness starts to feel unfamiliar. So when something real appears, something steady, something predictable, something safe, your system doesn't relax. It becomes alert. This is new. This is different. This might not be safe. And in relationships, this often shows up in subtle ways. Once things stabilize, you begin to notice flaws. They feel boring, too available, not exciting enough. You might pull back, create distance, even start small conflicts. But the issue isn't them. It's that your system has never fully learned what it feels like to be treated with consistency. So you're not rejecting the person. You're reacting to an experience your body doesn't recognize, being steadily, gently loved. When a relationship becomes stable, something deeper begins to surface. At first, it's just a feeling, a slight discomfort, hard to name. But soon it turns into something clearer. Doubt. You begin to question the other person. Are they trying to control you? Are they asking for too much? Are you losing your freedom, even when nothing is actually wrong? They might simply want to see you more often, text you more regularly, include you in their plans. But to you, it starts to feel like pressure. So you pull back, you reply less, you create space, you become a little colder. And as the discomfort grows, your behavior becomes more direct. You start noticing their flaws. You become more critical. Small issues turn into arguments. Sometimes you lose patience. Sometimes you walk away entirely. And in that moment, you might feel something unexpected, relief, as if you've just escaped something. But what actually ended was not a bad relationship. It was a state your system couldn't tolerate. Stability, closeness, emotional safety. In psychology, this is often described as self-sabotage. When safety exceeds what feels familiar, your system pulls you back to what it knows. So it's not that you can't find the right person, it's that just before something real can grow, you end it. Not because it was wrong, but because to you, it didn't feel like home. At some point, you may begin to notice something, quietly. The thing you need to question was never other people. It was your own sense of feeling, because for a long time, the signals you trusted most. This feels wrong. I'm not comfortable. Something is off. Were not always pointing to truth. They were pointing to what was familiar. When a connection makes you anxious, uncertain, constantly guessing, it can feel intense, meaningful, even real. But when a connection is calm, consistent and emotionally steady, you hesitate. You start to wonder if something is missing. This is not your fault. It's your nervous system using the past to interpret the present. But change begins in a very small moment, the moment you question that reaction. When you pause and ask yourself, is this discomfort really about them? Or is it just because I don't recognize this yet? When you don't immediately pull away but stay even just a little longer than you usually would, that's when the pattern begins to loosen. You don't have to change everything at once. You only need to do one thing. Stop fully trusting the feeling that pulls you back into what hurts. Because real love rarely feels intense at the beginning. It's quieter than that, something you grow into, something you learn to stay in. And when you finally do, when you stop running, stop pushing it away, you may realize something unexpected. You were never incapable of love. You were just protecting yourself in the only way you knew how. And now, you're beginning to learn a different way. This is happy psychology. May you understand yourself with more clarity and meet change without losing who you are. See you next time.